Welcome back! My name is Trina, the Southeast Asia Teaching Fellow from Google News Lab. Once again, I'll be your host for today. We're on to our second session of Chapter 2, Meet the Legends. Today's legendary speaker comes from AFP Fact Check, a global news organization that has presence in 151 countries. Ching Yee is based out of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. A fellow Malaysian just like me, Ching Yee also comes from a journalism background and was a field journalist until she joined AFP Fact Check in 2019 as a fact checker covering Malaysia and Singapore. Before we go into Ching Yee's presentation, I would like to make a short introduction of what Chapter 2 is all about for those who missed out on last week's session. Every week for 4 weeks, we will invite a speaker to share their work and how they put those skills that you learned in Chapter 1 into the real world situation. So we hope that this gives you an idea of how professional fact checkers put into practice all those tools and knowledge that you gained from going through Chapter 1. We won't be asking you to log onto any quiz platforms in Chapter 2, but we will be throwing random pop quiz questions during the speaker's presentation. You will need to answer those questions on the chat box that you see on your right-hand corner. And to be safe, you should type up your answer with your registered nickname in brackets. We will be awarding swag to all those who participate in all 4 sessions for Chapter 2 and also key in the responses in chat. Okay, not just attend, but also key in the responses on chat. But only the top 3 fastest and accurate responses will gain points to add onto their current score that we will update onto the leaderboard. The scores that you accumulate throughout Chapter 1 and 2 will be redeemable in Chapter 3. We will share with you updates on Chapter 3 upon the completion of Chapter 2. And do not worry, we are getting onto the whole swag sorting for Chapter 1, and we'll reach out to all those who qualified for swag in the coming weeks. Please be patient as our team has been working very hard the last 2 months. If you have any questions at all for our speaker this week, please put them into the Ask a Question box located below the video screen, and Ching Yee will respond to it at the end of her presentation. Okay, now that I've done all this long housekeeping explanation, I don't want to hold up time anymore. So with that, I would like to welcome and hand over the floor to Ching Yee from AFP.
Hi, so I'll just jump into the presentation. Thank you for taking, Yes, thank you for taking the time to be here at this presentation. I'm Ching Yee from AFP. So this is a brief introduction. AFP stands for Agence France-Presse, and we are one of the oldest international news agency in the world with our headquarters in France. So in contrast to the history of AFP itself as a whole, the official fact check side of AFP is rather new. We launched our digital verification service starting in France from 2017. By 2022, we are now covering more than 80 countries in over 24 languages with a workforce of more than 130 staff. We also recently updated our digital investigation techniques courses at digitalcourses.afp.com. As you can see with the logo up there, AFP is also part of Pointer's International Fact-Checking Network. What this really means is that we are committed to 5 main principles, which is non-partisanship, the transparency of our sources, funding and methodology, as well as our corrections policy. And then moving on, in the Southeast Asia region, I mainly cover Malaysia and Singapore, where the debunks published are both in English and Malay. So in this presentation, I'll be highlighting the English fact checks, but the Malay fact checks are available on semakanfakta.afp.com for those who are interested in checking them out. I'll also briefly explain how our translations are tailored to the particular country we're in. So in my case, Malaysia. So for a number of years now, AFP has been part of Facebook's third-party fact-checking program. And as of last year, we also became a part of the TikTok's Asia-Pacific fact-checking program. And throughout my time fact-checking, I've noticed most of the common false information found in both Singapore and Malaysia can be categorized into 4 broad themes. And here I've just explained these themes. So first, in both countries, especially since the start of pandemic, health has often been a topic that people touch upon. And the type of misinformation that has been spread around can range very widely. And these can be something like, traditional cures or remedies, to unsubstantiated claims surrounding COVID-19 vaccines. Second thing would be, there's politics as well. Claims around this can be specific, like on recent published statistics, for example, or to cheap fakes like screenshots of a local news report that has been manipulated, making it show a different title instead. Usually CNN and BBC are popular international targets, but say like in the context of Malaysia, we'll see cheap fakes in the form of manipulated titles from TV networks like TV3 or news portals like Malaysia Kini. And then the third theme that I see most often would be on religion or racism. Then the last one would be your general disasters and everything else. Really something like anything that's breaking news or you'll never believe this sort of claims. Usually these type of media that you could see could be anything from a video saying that, oh look, this is the what happened before the plane crashed, or this is something that happened but or it's not real, it's staged. These sort of claims are generally what we see, and it's usually quite rampant. So here's the bit where, at AFP, we're able to address the fact checks to the claims that are circulating within the particular country. So in my case, Malaysia. So as an example here, this is a story where the claims surrounding these pictures say that, oh, this is a picture of Queen Genital from Mongolia. So on the left here is the most commonly found picture which was circulating internationally. And in this picture, it's in color. And in the middle, you can see that it's a different story, but it's of two different pictures, and it's in black and white, supposedly of the same, featuring the same person and using the same claim. So, but once we looked into it a bit further, all three of them actually do not show Queen Genital from Mongolia. Like the one in color actually is originally in black and white, and it's actually a picture of a real noblewoman from Mongolia. And the one in the middle is actually just scenes from a movie. So now, interestingly, what we see then when these particular pictures and claim move on to Malaysia, to appear in Malaysia, it's actually slightly different, and people actually shared the colored picture and the black and white picture. Obviously, you can see they're actually two different persons. And the claim actually, instead of one sentence, it became longer as well. And then for some reason in Malaysia, the claim that was circulating referenced Queen Amidala from Star Wars. So in essence, in this line of job, we can also see the evolution of a claim as some elements of it gets transferred or translated into the local language. Sometimes it is the same, but sometimes it is exaggerated or references something that resonates with the locals. So moving on, this will be the first Q&A of the night. So do keep your answers to this question in mind, and I'll reveal the answers towards the end of the presentation. What is the responsible thing to do if you receive breaking news video of an explosion that supposedly happened in Tuas, Singapore today on WhatsApp? Choose all options that apply. A, check if the same video is on other social media. B, immediately forward to everyone on your contact list. C, search for news reports from trusted Singapore-based media. And D, I think you could read yourself, and I'll just move on. So this is my methodology. So it's pretty much a breakdown of what I do as a fact checker. Basically, a typical day at work for me would start with social media monitoring. So monitoring Facebook, Twitter, and so on, which will then lead me to narrowing down on a particular case that I would like to work on. And then when I'm set on one, I would begin my investigations or verifications using the open source tools available to me. So pretty much we use the same set of open source tools usually, unless the particular cases are slightly more complicated. So at the end of it would be the debunk itself, which is where my entire process is documented in an article format. Pretty much our reports are like a guide for readers. Everyone, in this sense, everyone should be able to replicate and reach the same results using the same tools and processes as we describe them in the debunk. So, yeah, the second question. So this is a scenario. Let's just say you just heard that rabies is now spreading like crazy in Kajang, Malaysia. There is even a photo of a man foaming from his mouth. How do you find out whether this is true? Choose all options that apply. So there's 4 options there. Choose any or all that applies. So I'm going to move on to the next case study. So this is the first case study, and this is a story that I worked on quite recently, this month actually. And it's actually of a video of a massive traffic jam that, supposedly people claim that this occurred in Malaysia over the Raya holidays. And then there are also variations to this claim that was even more specific, claiming that it is the longest highway in Malaysia. This happened the longest highway in Malaysia, the North-South Expressway. Some even say it happened in Penang. But the point is, all these claims were saying that, it happened in Malaysia and it's over the Raya holidays. So that's the two things that you need to remember. Next, I'll play the video, and do keep your eyes peeled on clues that might come up.
Parah banget ini makin malam.
Oh.
Masya Allah. Serem banget macet ya guys. Parah banget ini. Lihat. Luar biasa. Semenyeramkan inikah weekend?
So that's it. So it was a bit laggy, but I hope you managed to catch some scenes there, which would be useful. So the first thing we do really, we look for the initial clues. We observe and listen for cues why this might not be true. So the first few things that should tickle your senses really, because the claim mentioned Malaysia. So if you're from this region, you could tell that that's not in Malay. That's actually the Indonesian language. And then next, I've highlighted these two pictures here. Look at the highway and the surrounding area. Note the three circles there. The first screenshot is actually the third second into the video, and I circled these out because these are the obvious landmarks that you could potentially spot on Google Maps. So, they are large enough. So it's something that you could just point out, hopefully, once if you figured out where exactly it may be. So pretty much, so keep this photo in mind. And the second picture is actually, I've highlighted this because there's a signboard at the bottom there, and it's in blue. I mean, the advertisement is in blue. And then lastly, if anyone's from Malaysia and you tune into the news, you would know that pretty much with a traffic jam this big, it would be all over the news, and it will definitely be reported. But what happens is that during that particular time, during the Raya holidays, there were no reports of that featured this particular video. So keeping everything in mind, we move on to the open source tools to research further. Okay. So this is the research phase, and pretty much what I want to mention here is that you can always start with either or. You can start with reverse image search, and then narrow it down using keyword searches, or the other way around. But pretty much when you have a video, you start with reverse image search, and then with this particular case, the first thing that came up were old articles when I used the first screenshot of the first second of the video. And what happened was that these old articles mentioned were reported mainly by the Indonesian media because it went viral there as well. And then the difference is that in Indonesia, the claim is that it happened right around Raya celebrations. Of course, it didn't say that it happened in Malaysia. But let's just say that the claim is that it happened around Hari Raya, which is like early May. Even with this claim, in placing it in Indonesia, it is still misleading because really what happened was that the highway concessionaire, the company that takes care of the toll road came out to state that actually we found that this video came out way before the Hari Raya period. So, and what is very useful here is that Jasa Marga, the company, also provided a possible location where we can take and begin our geolocation, of the possible location of where this video was filmed. And then combining that, knowing that now it's in Indonesia, you can now also combine this with keyword searches as well. So pretty much under keyword searches, once you do that, you can combine both. Another alternative method is that you can also even quickly use any of these terms like traffic and raya or balik kampung and use it in Twitter and see whether anything pops up in terms of developments in traffic. And then also remember to narrow it down to the period where it allegedly happened, which is around April or early May. So after that, really, it becomes a case of repeating the keyword searches and the reverse image searches on different platforms to find the actual poster, because we are not stopping there. We are also narrowing it way down to who originally posted this video. So for this video, what happened was that the original poster was also on TikTok and using some keywords in Indonesian, because as we now know, it happened in Indonesia. We use words related to traffic jam. Her videos came up, and it turns out that she has been clarifying for quite a while that actually it's a hoax. Don't believe people who say that it happened over Hari Raya. It actually happened way before that. She even filmed a new video just to state that, oh yeah, this is where I filmed it from. So with all of these evidence through her video explanation and also the published clarification from Jasa Marga, we were able to geolocate the exact building where this highway is. And I'll be doing a brief demo next on where the location is, where she filmed this video from. So basically what happened is that with the clarification from Jasa Marga, they mentioned kilometer 34 of Tol Jagorawi, the toll road's name. So once we put this in Google Maps, we can see that it is actually here. It just comes up with the rest area. But this is obviously not the building where it is, because you can see that the facade is actually slightly different. So what you do is pretty much you land on a spot and you kind of want to figure out where it is. You can zoom out first and you kind of see the layout. It does kind of look familiar, isn't it? So we kind of look around and we see. And then now, moving up a bit, you can see that this is actually similar to the screenshot that I did a slide ago, the previous slide. And you can see that all the features are there, the same features as I've circled in the previous slide. And to really nail it, that this is the exact spot where she filmed it from. So we could now deduce that since this is the spot where she filmed, she must be around here. So it's likely that she's here in this building. So we could just do this. We take the yellow man and place it here. Yep. So let's say she's filming from this apartment. That signboard I mentioned earlier, it should be around here. So what happened is that here's a funny thing with Google Maps. They show the timeline of when they've taken all these pictures. And for the latest one, we would want March 2022. And you can see now that this is the exact location. The building, this is the same signboard, and this building here. Oh, okay. Yep, this apartment here is where she filmed it from. So moving on, since we established that moving on, we can go on to the next slide. Yep. Which is another question. So this is the last question. Which of these can be used to conduct a reverse image search? Choose all options that apply. So A, Google, B, Yahoo, C, YouTube, D, Yandex, E, Bing, F, Reddit, or G, Tinai. So choose all options that apply, and I'll reveal the answers later on towards the end of the presentation. So this is the second case study, and actually this case study is a bit older, but I use this example because I want to show the type of claims that can come up and how malicious they can be. So in this particular misleading post came out early on in the pandemic around March 2020. And the Facebook post contained a video of a man eating a bat and a photo of a man intubated. And then the claim that sort of marry both together was to say that, oh, because of this, then this happened. So the claim was that the man is now hospitalized. So sort of inferring that because he ate the bat dish, that's why he's in the hospital. And we'll now move on to see, like why this is misleading. So we start with the photo. we used the same techniques, reverse image search and keyword search. And what happened is that using these techniques, we came to the conclusion that the picture has nothing to do with pandemic or eating bats, because what happened is as soon as you use like reverse image search, you're led to this crowdfunding website, and then the person who did the crowdfund actually explained that this man is now in the hospital because of so and so, and you could go and see the crowdfunding date as well. What happened is that we could after then definitively deduce that it happened way before, and it's actually the man was intubated because of a different condition altogether. And yep, it's nothing to do with consuming bats. And then we move on to the video as well. And here's another reason why I choose this particular example. Is because sometimes searching or reverse image searching with Google is just not enough. Sometimes no relevant results will come up. And in this case, I remember the video of the man eating the bat. He was speaking in Chinese and explaining how to cut the bat while it's on this plate and all that. And I'm not going to show the video because it's mainly been taken down. We archived it, but still it's been taken down on various platforms. And, just based on that observation, we decided to search on the different search engines. So usually I'll search on the usual, like the Google, Yandex and all that. But because of the reason that he was speaking in Chinese, we thought that the best way would be to find the search engine that specifically uses the same language as well. So in this case, Baidu. So we did it in Chinese. And through this, we found that in actual fact, the video likely came from was likely filmed at this particular restaurant in Palau. And it's in an island country in the Western Pacific. And we did this through just matching the fact that from the video, there's the same plate. And then from other blog posts, there's also the same plate. And all of these bloggers and the man in the video happen to, be going around and filming this restaurant, and you can see the same decorations. So you could tell that it's actually the same restaurant. So, but why is it misleading? Why is it not false? Actually, there's 3 reasons for this. Because of what was claimed. The claim was slightly not clear. But it was inferring that it's related to COVID-19 because that was really hot back then, the topic. And we just needed to debunk it. It is definitely not related to COVID-19. And the next reason is that, the man has indeed, it is true that the man has been hospitalized, but it's actually from a different illness. And also the last bit is really, the bats are a delicacy, that's true, but it's actually in this case, it doesn't lead to anything. There's no mention that people fell ill from consuming bats. Just assuming that is just, it's just incorrect. So that's pretty much it. That's my 2 case studies. I'll reveal the answers now and also explain why it's so. The answer to the first question is A and C. And why is it A and C really? Because it's down to the keyword that I've placed in the question they're responsible. A is because the same video could have appeared in another platform, and that could be the original one with the correct captions. We wouldn't know. But we definitely could, from there on, move to verifying it. So C is also an option in this case because legitimate news media are held to a higher ethical regard. We have for legitimate news media, there's journalism ethics that to be adhered to, and actually there are ways to learn which ones are trustworthy media or not. And in this particular case, this is something that's to be addressed in media literacy education. And I'll mention a little bit about that later as well. So for the second question, the hypothetical scenario, the answer is everything but A, because B is because of this. B is an option because you can use words like rabies and kajang, and it may lead you to official reports of the actual context behind the incident, if it actually exists, and provide a possible date for it. Usually that could happen, but if not, if it doesn't come up, you have cause to believe that it's not true. but then again, you still have to search further. And C is an option as well, because oftentimes reverse image search may indicate whether this photo has appeared before. And many times people often just reuse old photos and slap a date to it. So uh, by doing reverse image search, you could pretty much figure out if it's even true. D is, of course, an option if anyone wants to try that, because officials often receive reports of any cases like this, because this is considered severe. So any cases like this from the public, the officials will also sort of sound out warning, and they would alert others to their own official social media accounts. And the last bit is everything but B or C. Pretty much, you could even do this in one click. Here is where I would like to introduce a Chrome extension to you for anyone who's using Chrome as well. It's called InVid. Basically, what you do is you upload the video onto the extension, and pretty much once it's loaded, you use one click, and then it just searches all of these search engines and websites for you. So before I end my presentation, I would like to stress the importance of media literacy. So there are many resources online for you to look up the topic, and I certainly wish this was more widely taught. But the gist of it is that learning media literacy helps us to become wiser consumers of media, as well as responsible producers of our own media. And the main thing I want to impress in this presentation is that all of us would benefit from thinking before we click to share content. And those two hashtags there are would definitely be familiar to the Malaysians in the audience. Tidak pasti jangan kongsi, tak pasti jangan kongsi. If you're not sure, do not share. And the last bit here is, for those who want to test yourself further on the topic of media literacy, these are two pretty interesting websites for you to try out. Choices I Made came out last year and is an online tool for the public to identify and combat disinformation and misinformation. Bad news exposes you to common forms of manipulation that you may encounter online, and knowing these techniques will help you determine what is worth sharing or not. So they're pretty fun, sort of like Q&A sort of scenarios for you to test out. And then that's it. That's pretty much my presentation. Taking questions now.
Thank you, Ching Yee, for your presentation. So it's great to see a live use case of Google Maps and Street View, which all of you have actually picked it up as well in chapter 1, including InVid. So we'll now open the floor to questions. I see we already have some that has been posted earlier. Ching Yee, do you want to pick out a question, or should I just bring the first question up?
Yeah, you could just, I would just take it.
Yeah, we'll just put out the first question was, do professional fact checkers have an area of specialty? Because don't they need to understand the intricacies of the topic they're fact checking?
So the thing is, we do have, the simple answer is sort of no, but then again, we don't, the area of specialty, I guess you put it, is fact checking. It is in a sense quite general. But in terms of the intricacies of the topic, okay, I'll just take as an example the pandemic. It was actually, I have to admit, it was quite trying, because the information that came out from the scientists, from the government authorities and all that, it keeps evolving, and we also need to be updated on that. So in a sense, we are learning along the way as well. But we are careful with that, because what is fact is fact. It doesn't change. Things that are definitely true will be, for example, like photos. I mean, they don't change unless you manipulate them. So that's something that we can verify. Same with videos. Unless it's manipulated, it's going to be the same video. So the thing is, here is where, if we go to something like text messages and all that, then that's where the complication comes in, because sometimes that's why we don't fact check things about he said, she said. So yeah, not there's no real specialty in a sense, I would say, but we do need to understand the nuances that comes with fact checking topics. That's outside of our specialty. We don't claim to know. We actually ask experts to explain and clarify for us, and we will also do extra fact checking on top of that to make sure everything published is okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that really covers it, right?
Yeah.
Not just picking out clues from the statement or claim itself, the visual, but also getting, getting the professionals like your health experts or someone with knowledge into, say, a specific topic or issue that is, in particular what you're looking at. If it's COVID, then it's obviously a health expert. If it's like in war-torn countries, it's probably looking at, maybe machine or machine gun like weapons experts and so forth. There's a second question whereby it says that it's talking about bias, right? Where certain influences and bias may play a factor in fact checking, right? How do you actually remain objective throughout the process? Is it difficult, to like do you battle with your own maybe preset assumptions or like your views? How do you juggle all of that?
It's a very good question. I mean, it happens. I think in the especially for example, I mean, coming from Malaysia, there'll be certain biases of, for example, how do I put this? There'll be certain biases, definitely. I wouldn't say there isn't, but the thing is, fact checking is actually not just a one person process. In AFP, we have multiple levels of editing where I would submit what I think this fact check is, and it just doesn't end there. It goes through numerous levels where they would also question me, is this what you think it is? And actually when it comes to photos and videos, is actually a bit more like it's not, so there's not much room to play with, because the fact is the fact. If a photo is manipulated, it's manipulated. If a video is manipulated, it is. But when it comes to text, is where I guess sometimes we kind of need to understand the nuances and all that. But yeah, we balance this out because it's not just me. The editing team goes all the way to Hong Kong, and then sometimes if we need an extra eye, we'll ask the local bureaus or other bureaus, like, is this so it's not it's there's many layers, you see. So this is just to reduce the bias, and then we could also hear other opinions. So this is how we just balance it out. Yeah, but the next bit of it, yeah, it is tough actually, but we work with what we have, and sometimes we just explain it as best as we could.
Yeah, and there's another question. I think sometimes when you come across a claim or a statement, you try to fact check it, right? When do you know it's a good time to stop the investigation, right? Maybe you feel like if it's an easy one, you can come up to a solution quickly. Then obviously we can get it done very fast. But what if it takes like much longer time? Do you think that is there a limit as to like when you think you should stop and just move on, or should you keep pursuing this and keep trying to debunk it until you get it?
Ultimately, we try to debunk it until we get it. We don't really want to just put out half-baked, half-baked articles where, look, we found that this is not true, but this is why. But we didn't go all the way. Like, for example, I'm going to go back to the first case study. Basically, for example, if anyone wants to stop, they could have stopped by saying that, look, or Jasa Marga said, the company said that it didn't happen. It didn't happen over Hari Raya. This is Indonesia. It happened at this part, and it's just that's it. Then we could just stop there. But actually, we would want to definitively prove that, oh look, it is really in Indonesia, because you can even prove it through Google Maps, and it's an impartial, like it's a different platform. And it could really prove that it's actually this building even, and then it happened at that particular time, because it so happens that Google Street View was also updated, and you can see the same signboard, advertisement. So I mean, we as much as we could, we tried to get to that sort of the nitty-gritty of it. And then, but I guess I would say that in terms of stopping investigation, if it's really time pressed, in the case of, say, like the plane crash, the Chinese plane crash, we do try to, if we could, speed things up. But I mean, at the end of the day, we tried to get as much info as we could, and debunk it definitively, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
So we're running out of time, so I'll just take one last question. So it says here, how do I sign up as a fact checker online? Is there a test certification for that? So I'm guessing there are some aspiring fact checkers out there and they're wondering, how do I actually get into this industry?
Well, I was a journalist before, and I just decided after a particular seminar that I took, I decided that this is it. This is my next course in my career, and I guess it's a bit unconventional. It so happened I was also lucky. It so happened that AFP decided to start a fact checking team in Malaysia, and pretty much this region really. It started all at the same time, and it so happened that look, I have some experience. That's how I came in. So, but in terms of signing up as a fact checker online, I guess there are courses as well you could try out. And also it's really to test if that's really what you like to do. We have the digital course that I mentioned earlier. It was developed with Google News Initiative. If you like to just have a look and see if it's the sort of thing that you like to do before you commit. It's actually a course that has, I think you have a certificate to go with it if you complete it. And I think Google News Initiative also comes up with all of these other courses and challenges and initiatives as well. Signing up. Well, I know Indonesia has this volunteer-ish, I think, volunteer program that they do. Off the top of my head, I couldn't remember the exact name now, but they actually,
Mafindo?
yes, that's it. So pretty much Muffindo's model is actually quite different in a sense. We don't have that here in Malaysia or Singapore yet, but Muffindo has it. So if you're in Indonesia, pretty much Muffindo is where you kind of sign up and kind of learn as you go while they give you claims to debunk, I think. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you so much, Chingy, for your time today. We
Thank you.
truly appreciate you joining us. So we have reached the end of session 2 in our Meet the Legends chapter. We'll meet you all again at the same time, same place next week. Our speakers for next week, in fact, are two young ladies who are both young enough to join this verification challenge. They are both around your age, between 15 to 24. And guess what? They're also students by day, but professional fact checkers by night. So we hope to see you all again next week. Well, then until then, take care and good night. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.